everybody! Here we are for our third week of Monday Sunday School. Now, the last 2 weeks we focused on God's love and kindness. We are going to continue on kindness this week, but then we're also going to start a new series about the life of Jesus. And we're actually going to continue through probably about mid to end of April. So we're going to really be focusing on Jesus and his life and the whole purpose of why he came to earth, which is the most important thing you'll ever hear is why Jesus came to earth. So as we went through February, we focused on God's love and on kindness. I hope that many of you have been able to fill out some red kindness cards, and then by the end of the week, we're going to show you how to put them together on like a rainbow on your wall, or you could actually put it on a poster board. But we've been tracking Alexis's kindness, and we've been writing them on the kindness cards. We'd love to hear some ways that you all have been kind as well. Some of Alexis's new kindness are the other day. It was so helpful. She actually, we had the truck ready to go when it was warming up and it was covered in snow. Next thing you know, I look out there. She has the brush and she's getting all that snow off the truck, and we didn't even ask her to do that. So kindness can be you obeying your parents and doing what they ask. So I can say, hey Alexis, can you put the stuff from the washer to the dryer? And when she does that, that is being kind. Oh, hi Mackenzie, glad you were able to join us again. So Mackenzie, we'd love to hear about some kind things that you've done recently. We're talking about some different kind things that Alexis has done, but we'd love to hear what you've done that's been kind lately. And so it is kind to obey. It is definitely a very kind thing to your parents to obey. What's even better is when you make the decision to do things on your own. So we didn't have to ask Alexis to take the snow off of the truck. She just saw, okay, we're getting ready to go. The truck's running. I better get the snow off. Or sometimes she'll even notice, because Mom, that's one of her big jobs that she helps Mommy with, because we have a stackable washer and dryer. So the washer's on the bottom and the dryer's on the top. And I kind of have a little bit of back issues, so she knows that that's kind of one of her helper jobs, is she helps me get the stuff from the washer and put it in the dryer. So sometimes when she hears that washer dinging, she is kind, and she just puts it right in there without me even saying, hey Alexis, can you put the stuff from the washer to the dryer? And in her kindness, she's showing responsibility too, aren't you? So it's kind of like a double whammy, and she's showing me love. We talked about how kindness and love go together. She's showing love. Now, we have some helpers who want to help us sing our kindness song. And if you want to look it up in your Bible, it's Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32, about being kind to each other and being forgiving as well. Being forgiving is kindness. So you guys ready to help? Yeah, we're ready! And be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. I think we should sing that one more time, since this is our last week of kindness. This is our last full week in February. So next Monday, March 1st, we're actually going to start a new character trait with orange cards to continue on our rainbow. So I think we should sing that one more time, since this is our last week of kindness. Are you ready, guys? Yeah! And be kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. Aw, thanks, helpers. So we hope that we can encourage you to think of some different ways to be kind, especially to people in your home. Whether you have a brother or sister, mom and dad, being kind to your family members is probably the hardest. It's easy to be kind to friends, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right, and it's easy to be kind to people that you don't see that often. But the people you live with, it's a lot harder to be kind. Let's see. Oh, Mackenzie did laundry without complaining. That's super helpful too. So Mackenzie, also, that sounds like your job is to kind of help with laundry too. And that's really helpful for moms, because even if you only have a family of 3 like we do, there's still a lot of laundry and a lot of dishes. So those are 2 huge ways that kids your age even can help out. So
I kind of took over the dishes.
That's right. So even Alexis, she does most of the dishes too. And so that's a very kind act that she does. And to do without complaining is huge, because complaining just kind of makes everyone kind of feel, it kind of drags everybody down. So when you can do things cheerfully and happily, that's definitely using kindness for sure. So let's go on to learning about Jesus and when he was a little boy. We actually wanted to recommend this book. I know it's backwards. It's Growing Up Where Jesus Lived. It's actually part of the second grade curriculum for Abeka. But we both really enjoyed hearing about the different things. It goes through many of the different aspects. Where would you live? What would the weather be like? What would your family be like? What would you wear? What would you eat? What kind of chores would you have? What would school be like? What would you do for fun? How would you worship God? And it really gave a really nice insight to what it was like when Jesus was growing up. So we can't share the whole book with you. This would take us all week. But Alexis just wants to share, what kind of food would you eat growing up where Jesus grew up in Nazareth?
Many foods eaten in Jesus' day are common foods you may eat today. Most of your food would have been grown in your own garden or village fields.
So I'm going to pause right there. So most of the food was grown. They had their own little garden. So they would have like their home. And then behind their home, they would like have them all connected, and they'd all have this garden that was protected from any sort of creatures being able to get in to eat the food. So they didn't really have a grocery store. They did actually have like a market, like a farmer's market, but they had to grow most of their own food.
Kind of like if you ever watched Aladdin, kind of like that, basically, of a market.
So Aladdin actually had a really good insight to what it would have been like in the Bible days. Oh, and Mackenzie's got more kindness here. She washed her brother's hair because her mom was busy getting ready for church. Very good. That is a super kind thing to do, because again, anything you can do to help your mom is wonderful, and it's definitely showing kindness. And you were also being kind to your little brother too, for helping him wash his hair, because it sounds he's probably too young to wash his own. So you did a double act of kindness. You were kind to your brother, and that was kind for your mom. So it's a great job, Mackenzie. I love hearing about kindness that people have. It definitely encourages, when you hear about other people being kind, it encourages you to want to be kind too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue on to hear, what kind of food did they grow?
You would eat lettuce, cucumbers, dandelions, melons, pomegranates, beans, lettuce, peas, and onions from your garden. Oranges, dates, walnuts, almonds, and pistachio nuts grew on trees in the land of Israel.
And nuts are some of our favorite foods. We eat a lot of nuts in our house.
Figs and grapes were favorite fruits. They would be eaten fresh in the summer and fall, or they would be dried on rooftops to be eaten during the winter.
So who knows, what are grapes when they're dried?
Raisins.
That's right, they're raisins. So they could eat the grapes fresh, but then they could actually have them year-round too, because they could dry them, and that way they would keep, because it's the water in foods that makes it go bad. So when you dehydrate them and take all the water out, then they can last a lot longer. Oh, and Mackenzie also has the Growing Up Where Jesus Lived book from Abeka. Yes, because it was part of the second grade curriculum. So we tend to hang on to our books a little bit past, and then, so like I've already sold her first grade books, but we kind of hang on to them because they're nice to reference. But yeah, this was a great book. We hope you enjoyed reading it too. And I definitely recommend it to anybody to purchase this book, even if you're older. It's got a lot of great information in it. So then let's see, why don't you just tell about the bread here? The bread and the olive oil. Can you share that, Alexis?
Bread that was pressed with butter and bees' honey was a treat that children especially liked. Olive oil was used in preparing many foods. You would use it in the way we use butter and bread on vegetables.
Good, that's good. So we won't share anymore, because like I said, it would take a long time to read the book, but it's got a lot of great information. But that's right, so they used olive oil just like butter, because there were olive trees were very plentiful where Jesus lived. So olives and olive oil were both used a lot. So one verse I'd like to share, well, actually, you know what, let's go ahead and share we're just doing a quick summary of baby Jesus, even though I'm sure a lot of you have actually probably heard about the Christmas story and known about baby Jesus' story. But I just am going to do a quick recap on Jesus as a baby. And as you know, where was Jesus born, Alexis?
Bethlehem.
He was born in Bethlehem. Was he born in a fancy castle?
Nope.
No.
Not at all.
He was born in a barn, basically. He was born in a stable where the animals were. Who came to see Jesus?
The the shepherds.
That's right. They saw the angels in the sky, and the angels told them, come and see baby Jesus, fear not, even though it was kind of scary to see all those angels in the sky. But now tell me one thing. So here are the shepherds that came to visit baby Jesus when he was first born. But a lot of times art and pictures will show, even some books will show that the wise men were there at the stable. But is that true? Is that accurate?
No.
No, they did not come actually that soon.
Until he was like a year or two old.
Right, so the wise men did see the star in Bethlehem, and they actually saw, or they studied the star, so they understood that, wow, this is something very different to see that in the sky. And they did, they followed that star. Now, a lot of times we picture 3 wise men because there were 3 gifts, but do we know were there 3? We
There
don't
could
know.
be 300.
We really don't know how many there were, do we? Let's see, Mackenzie's aunt used to be an Abeka teacher. Oh, so you've got a lot of good Abeka books. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, her book has a girl on it, and the words are a little different. Okay, that could be, this is actually the revised version, and I know for sure 3rd grade was recently revised. Yep, so this one actually says it's the 3rd edition. So you may have the 2nd edition or even potentially the 1st edition. So that's what I noticed is they kind of update their pictures and things on their books too. So the wise men did finally find Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, and they brought the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh so that they could have money to travel back to Nazareth. And then the angel told them it was safe to go back to Nazareth. They had to hang out in Bethlehem for a while so the king would not kill baby Jesus. Now we're moving on. So we all know the story of Jesus's birth. And then we hear a lot of when Jesus was an adult. But you know what? Jesus was a little boy and a little kid just like you, wasn't he? And that's why this book is so cool. This really gives you a lot of insight to what it was like when Jesus was a little boy. So this is a story of Jesus in the temple when he was a little boy. So here's a nice little picture of Jesus when he was a little boy. Actually, I'll put it back here. Oh no, you probably can't see it very good. Alexis, can you see the pictures okay if I put it here?
I'm fine.
Okay, yep, so you can still see the pictures, right? All right, so this is Jesus. He lived with his mother Mary and Joseph in Nazareth. And that's where he went to school. So he grew up just a regular boy. He had brothers and sisters. Mary and Joseph went to Jerusalem. They went every year for a special Jewish festival. And when Jesus was 12, he went with them. So it wasn't necessarily something that little kids could go to, but then once he was old enough, 12 years old, he was able to go to Jerusalem with them. And they had certain festivals throughout the year that were kind of like our holidays. So our holidays are different ways that we can celebrate Jesus. Well, they had certain festivals that they would go attend. But it was a long, long journey to get there. Mary, Joseph, and Jesus walked with lots of other families and friends, and they would camp every night. So it's kind of like a little traveling caravan, and then they would have to stop and camp.
Kind of like pioneers.
Yeah.
Like the pioneer camping at the campground.
Right. It was a lot like that. Yeah, there was definitely no, we do a lot of camping, but we do hookup camping, right? Where we can hook up to we plug into electricity, we
Basically,
put the water on.
Just kind of like normal life. Like there's a TV in there, like we have running water, there's a bathroom.
So it's kind of just like our home, whereas when they were camping, it was the real deal camping.
Like tents.
Yep, tent.
They probably didn't even have a sleeping bag.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they had they probably used animal furs and skins, or they would weave something for a blanket. So they had some sort of a mat they would sleep on, so they wouldn't be sleeping right in the dirt necessarily. But it was very, definitely not like our kind of camping. Well, finally they would arrive in Jerusalem, their whole group would. And they would stay in the city for several days. And then when the festival was over, they'd go back home to Nazareth. So they'd make that long journey from Jerusalem to Nazareth. Well, it was such a large group. And because Jesus was 12 years old, it wasn't like he was a little boy. So like if you were a little boy, you want to make sure, you always have your eyes on your little kid. But because they were with friends and family, he was 12 years old, Mary and Joseph weren't really keeping track of, where's Jesus? They didn't really think much about it until they camped for the first night. Mary's getting dinner ready, and she's like, wait a minute, where's Jesus? He should have come here by now. It's dinner time. He should be hungry. He should be ready for food. He never came. So then they started looking around the camp. Well, where's Jesus? They started asking everybody, where's Jesus? Where's Jesus? And then they started panicking a little bit. Where's Jesus? We can't find him anywhere. They would probably go to their close family, their close friends. They couldn't find Jesus anywhere. He was missing. They searched all night for him. They couldn't find Jesus anywhere. So right away, they decided we need to go pack up our things and we need to head back to Jerusalem. We've got to get Jesus. So they did immediately. After they searched all night, they packed up their tent, they packed up everything, and they head back to Jerusalem to find him. It was early in the morning, and they would hurry back to Jerusalem. Where could Jesus be? Asked Mary. They were very worried about Jesus. They searched all the streets for him and they couldn't find him. They were looking all over. They thought, well, where is a 12-year-old boy going to be? Why wouldn't he just stay with the group? Like, they couldn't quite understand it. And at last, they found Jesus. Does anybody know where they found him?
Take a guess.
In my Father's house, right? In God's house, the temple. So ours is called a church, but back then they called it a temple. At last they found Jesus. There he is, said Mary. He was sitting with the temple teachers. He was listening to them talking. And Jesus, as a 12-year-old little boy, he actually surprised and impressed those teachers. He asked them many questions, and he was only 12, but he understood their answers. So he would ask a very deep question, and they were thinking, oh man, a 12-year-old boy is not going to understand this answer, but they would give it to him anyway. And then Jesus would respond with something how he understood it, and they were just, like, their jaws dropped. They were just amazed. How does this 12-year-old boy understand what we're saying? We're talking about things that only 30, 40, 50, 6-year-old men would understand. Oh, yep, see, Mackenzie knew it was the temple. That's right. It was the temple. That's where Jesus is. Well, then Mary, of course, I can see, Mary and Joseph, like when you can't find your child. One time, Alexis was hiding at the farmer's market with a park. And even though she wasn't trying to be bad or mean or anything, both her father and I got really, really scared and so scared because we didn't know where she was. We couldn't find her. So there's a little bit of maybe not anger, but a little bit of, just because when you're so fearful, it really can scare you. And I'm sure Mary and Joseph were feeling that way. Like, Jesus, why did you do this? Why would you hide from us? Why would you not come with us? We've been so worried. Where have you been? And they found him. Jesus said, I'm sorry. Didn't you know that I would be in my Father's house? But Mary didn't quite understand. Well, what does Jesus mean? How are we supposed to know where he was? But Jesus had a different purpose in life. So Jesus, even as his 12-year-old boy, was trying to tell his mom, I'm not here just to be a little boy. Jesus had a purpose for coming to earth. And he was starting to fulfill that purpose, even at 12 years old. Well, they finally made it safely home to Nazareth. And Jesus grew up to be a wise and strong young man. He loved Mary and Joseph, and he loved God. And there's a great verse that I want to share with you. That kind of just shows the how he grew. And it's actually in Luke. So like Luke chapter 2 is like the typical story of Jesus's birth, like the Christmas story. But then if you go on in the same chapter, Luke chapter 2, it talks about everything else, and then when they went to Nazareth, and then verse 40 is the one I really want to focus on. Can you read this, please, Alexis? Verse number 40.
And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him.
I thought that was kind of cool to think about it. The child grew, he waxed strong in spirit, and he was filled with wisdom. Sometimes I think, as a kid, you may think, I'm just a kid, I'm not going to be wise. I'm not going to have a lot of knowledge. But even though, of course, Jesus was definitely a step above any other human, you too, as children, you can grow in knowledge. You can grow in spirit. You can grow in maturity. And some of that is you just need to apply yourself. In order to learn, you have to be able to apply yourself and focus. So I thought that was a great verse. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. So God saw that when God sees you learning and trying really hard, it makes him so happy. Like, he looks down and he sees, wow, Alexis, you're doing really good. You're focusing, you're applying yourself, you're trying to do your best, aren't you? So not only that makes your parents happy, it makes God happy. He smiles down in heaven when he sees that you can grow, and God gives you his grace so that you can learn more. So if you keep trying and applying yourself, God's going to help you learn more and apply yourself. But we wanted to share just a quick little art project with you. Since Jesus grew up in the desert in Nazareth, there's a lot of palm trees there. And one of my favorite things actually to draw in watercolor are palm trees. They're just a lot of fun, and I have an easy little step that I want to share with you all on how to draw them.
She was just talking about how she loves palm trees.
I do. They're not my favorite tree, but I will say they're from my top 5.
Live oak trees.
I love the live oak trees. I love weeping willows, but I'd say palm trees are either number 3 or 4 on my list. And we're actually today, you can use watercolor paper, you can use cardstock. I actually have these cards because we like to send out cards to people to kind of cheer them up. So I thought, well, what a fun way you could do a palm tree with the sunshine in the corner and just kind of brighten somebody's day with that. So I think we're going to make ours into palm tree, into a card to send to someone. But you don't need too much. You just need some sort of paper. You need a pencil. I like to use a pencil to draw it out first because a lot of times a pencil won't show over the watercolors. Of course, you got your watercolor cups, paintbrush, and some watercolors. So I'm going to flip us around, and we are going to, I'll let you open that up while I flip this around, and we're going to go ahead and just draw a simple palm tree today. So I think actually if I flip this, oh, you know, actually if I just go down like that, look at that. I think I can do my palm tree backwards, and then you guys can see it. Yeah, I think that'll work. All right, so I'm gonna draw upside down for everybody. And what I'm gonna do is before I start drawing, I'm gonna put just a little bit of water, because I'm actually gonna do, oh yeah, there's some water, that's from the glitter watercolors. We're actually going to do a bottom that's gonna be brown, because I'm making my palm tree in the desert. And the top I'm going to do blue, but I'm going to save a little bit of yellow for the corner. So since I'm only using a few colors, I'm actually going to wet down the yellow. So you want to kind of get it a little bit wet so it can sit there before we're going to draw first, Alexis. And then we're going to do a little bit of blue. We're going to get a little bit of green. I'll get both the greens. So when you're using watercolors, you want to actually get them wet for just a little bit before you use them. And we'll do a couple different sunny colors. We're definitely going to do some brown for our sand. And you can actually even glue on some real sand, which is kind of a cool thing too. So since we're only doing the half side for our card, I gotta make sure I'm doing it the right way so it's not backwards.
I think I'm gonna draw the sable palm.
Yeah, we learned about different kinds of palm trees too, didn't we? So I'm just gonna give a little idea of where I want the sand to be. So I'm just doing a light layer here. And then the palm tree is fairly simple to draw. You're just gonna kind of go up. You're kind of making 2 long curved lines. Hopefully you can see that. Let me see if it's dark. There, maybe if I get it a little closer. And then to make that kind of texture, you're gonna kind of go back and forth. We're gonna do it more with the paintbrush too. But this just gives it this idea of kind of decide where do you want your land to be, where do you want the sky to be, and where do you want your tree to be. So we're not drawing the full-fledged thing quite yet. Now I'm gonna put my sunshine in the corner over here. So that's something else you can decide. In fact, I want actually my palm tree to be a little bit shorter than that. Oh, sorry, Alexis. So we were actually gonna do our base colors first. And then we're gonna use, oh, I forgot to grab the paper towel too. So I'm gonna use just a little bit of yellow in my corner for my sun. And if you want to, you can do this actually on top of a paper. But this table is kind of it's an older table, it's kind of a craft table. So I'm not really concerned about us getting this table too dirty or anything. So there's our little sun in the corner. And then we're going to do a very light blue. So if you want a light color blue for your sky, you'll actually wet it down with watercolors first. And then you'll put the paint on, and that gives a really light color. So see how that's kind of dark? But then when you add it to the water, it ends up being fairly light colored. And then you might just want to go real easy around here. And actually, you know what, Alexis, can you grab, oh, are we out of paper towels?
Yep.
Oh, we're out of paper towels. Well, maybe a napkin then. Can you grab me a napkin, please?
Sure.
Thank you, honey. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna make it really, really, really light by adding a lot of water to our base. We're gonna do the same thing for the sand actually, because I don't want I don't want a dark sand. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the sand. I'm gonna get the page all wet. And see how it's kind of wrinkling up because this is not watercolor paper? What you can do is after it dries, you can put it inside a heavy book just like you'd flatten leaves, and then it'll flatten up again. Oh, thank you. So then I don't want to mess up my sun, so what I do is I'm just gonna kind of dab this side here and lift it up. And then you can even take your finger a little bit and just kind of, it almost makes it look like wind, doesn't it, when you do that? It kind of makes it look cool. So now I've got the bottom all wet, and I'm going to add just a little bit of brown. So again, I want it to be a really light color. And because sand isn't really dark brown like this, it's more light brown, I'm actually gonna add in just a little bit of orange to give it a little more of a sandy color and not that dark dirt color.
Honestly, I think I'm just gonna do orange for my
You can,
because
yeah, if you want just that. But see how when you do it, when you put that water on, look how light you can make it look. So that's kind of cool. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, again, dab that down. You don't wanna really rub it, you just wanna push it down and dab. And then it's a really light color. You can dab a couple of things. So now this is all pretty dry. I'm just gonna kind of make sure it's dry around where I want my palm tree to be. And now I'm actually gonna switch over to a thinner paintbrush. Oh, here's a good one. So I'm gonna use, oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna use a thinner one here. And then I'm going to outline the base of my palm tree. So I kind of had a little bit of a guide here, but I'm actually gonna adjust it just a little bit because I kind of want it more on this side now. So since I have my sun over here, I'm actually going to readjust my palm tree to kind of make it over here now. So again, you're just gonna do those loops on this side. And then I'm gonna fill it in kind of with lines. So that kind of gives the texture of the palm tree when you go back and forth like that. It's kind of like crisscross. But that gives that texture of that typical palm tree.
There's my sable palm.
Oh, good. See, so she's got the texture there too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the leaves. So the leaves are a lot of fun to make too. Here, I'll put that. You want the water closer to you? There you go. So the leaves are a lot of fun to do too. So I'm going to do, I usually do 4 leaves on my palm tree. So I just want to make sure you get all the brown off your paintbrush. You don't want brown in your leaves. And I'm going to use this darker green for my palm.
Because palm trees don't quite change color.
Right, and you do get brown leaves on palm trees, so it would be realistic if you did.
True, but we want ours to be a pretty palm tree.
So then I just kind of do lines. Very similar to how we did that peacock feather, isn't it? So you just kind of make lines right off of your, the center line. So there's one little palm branch. And then sometimes you have to dip just a little more water. And then we're going to do another one that's going to kind of go off the page. So I'm only going to draw it to there.
What about the table?
Well, like I was saying, if you have a nice table or your parents would like something underneath, you could do that. Our table is fairly old and we do a lot of crafts on it, so it's okay. And then again, you just make your little lines. And you can do them different lengths too. You can do short ones. You can actually do longer ones if you want. Palm trees kind of have different fronds. I'm going to do one more.
Frond?
That's like the leaf. Mm. So I'm going to do one more here. Up here. And then in the center, I'm going to make mine have some coconuts too. So there's my palm tree there. So it's funny because it's a Christmas story, a lot of times nativity scenes will show the stable, Mary and Joseph, baby Jesus and everything, and then they'll show Christmas trees around there. When in actuality, it was probably, either there were no trees or there would have been palm trees. So now I'm going to do 3 little coconuts in the middle here. 1, 2, and 3, because I like the way 3 look. A lot of times, even when you're doing decorations, 3 is a nice number to do. So I'm going to put that up a little
Like
closer.
holly berries too.
Yeah. So here we have my palm tree. There's a beautiful sunshine in the corner, very light blue background. And you can see that I still have a few pencil marks there. When it's all dry, you can just gently erase it and you won't even see that anymore. And there's my pretty sand. And if you wanted to, you could even glue some sand on there like glitter. So a lot of fun different ways. And then you can send that to someone and brighten their day with a beautiful palm tree and sunshine that makes it just seem happy, especially in the winter time when people might be feeling a little bit cold. It's nice to see palm trees and sunshine, isn't it? Well, we thank you so much for joining us today to learn more about the life of Jesus as a little boy. Next week, he's going to be all grown up. So we'll have a few more weeks. We're going to learn about the miracles of Jesus and the parables, the stories that he told. Oh, and Mackenzie has a palm tree for her nativity scene too. See, and now you know why, yeah? Because in the desert, where in Bethlehem, where Jesus was born, there are palm trees that grow there, and not the pine trees. Even though that's our symbol here is the pine tree. But yes, so palm trees, one of my favorite trees. They are very beautiful. So we're so glad you joined us learning about Jesus as a boy. And I hope that learning about Jesus encourages you to also grow in wisdom, grow in stature. Stature means your height, so you're going to grow in height. But as you grow in height, try really hard to grow in wisdom. Try to learn something new every day. Even at my age, I try to learn.
She still learns new things.
I do. I love learning new things. And I really try to make that a goal I want to learn something new every single day. And most days, I learn lots of new things, not just one new thing. But if you have that goal, I want to learn one new thing today, then that'll be a great goal, especially if it's something that helps build your character. Or, I want to be a better person every day. I want to be a little bit better. So why don't we pray? Oh, let's see. Oh, nice palm tree. That'll definitely brighten someone's day too. We like to send cards to Super Granny, which is my grandma. It's her great grandma. Or even just sometimes grandparents, or maybe somebody in your church that you're like, you know what, they're not feeling really well. Maybe I could send them a card. So it's a nice thing to do. So why don't we go ahead and pray to end our Monday Sunday school, and just to try to encourage us to be more like Jesus. You ready? So dear Jesus, we thank you so much for your example and how you showed us that even as children, you grew not only in height, but you also grew in wisdom and knowledge. And we know that your grace will shine down upon us as we learn and grow, especially in good things and things that you would want us to grow in. And we just thank you for this time together, that we can share your life together. And we love you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thanks again for joining us today and sharing Jesus' life. Oh, it looks like Mackenzie. Oh, I'm sorry. We already read that one about the palm tree. But that is pretty cool. So a palm tree is that's the right tree to put with your nativity scene. Oh, see, she's having it dances. It's Grandparents' Day, and they can watch her class on Zoom. Yeah, see, Alexis does her dance on Zoom too. Pretty cool, huh? That would be fun. Maybe we could invite Super Granny to watch sometime. She'd probably really enjoy that. And maybe you can send your palm tree card to your grandparents too, because you don't have to just watercolor it. You could just draw a nice sunny palm tree picture too, right? Well, have a great day, everybody, and try to grow more in kindness and love and learn something new every single day. Bye.